Kenchi 618 is original creator. Now let's begin. Chapter 6, Bankai Days. Senzaikyu, bridge overlooking Tsukioku. Ganja stood frozen staring out at a man in a captain's haori. He had long black hair and expensive-looking hair pieces that left a few strands draping over his face in bangs as well as a white scarf that drifted behind him in the wind. The calm look of control on the man's face as well as the staggering amount of energy flying off of him was extremely unnerving for Ganju. I felt some faint reiatsu heading towards the holding cell. The man said, calmly staring Ganju down as if he weren't a threat. I thought it was someone strong holding back their spiritual pressure, like the man that fought Soifan of the 2nd Division, but apparently it was nothing but a big fat bug. How dull. Rukia stood further back on the bridge closer to the tower she had been imprisoned in alongside a small, young, frail-looking male Shinigami. She tried moving forward but was stopped by the Shinigami with her. Where are you going, Rukia-san? Rukia tried pulling herself away. Let go of me, Hinataro. If we don't stop this now, then that man from the Shiba clan will die. She fell to the ground breathing heavily as Hinataro moved to help her. I'd been in that cell surrounded by Sekiseki, spirit-reducing stone, for so long. My Ryuryoku is at its weakest. I can't even handle Byakuya-sama's Ryatsu. Hinataro put a hand on Rukia's shoulder. It's okay, Rukia-san. Ganja-san walked so calmly into the confrontation. He must have a secret plan that we couldn't think of. He has to, he said, voice full of belief. Ganja had a good game face, but it belied his true thoughts. Ugh, just standing here is taxing. His Ryatsu is really strong, damn it. With a difference in strength like this, a few petty little tricks won't do any good. He quickly lunged at his opponent and drew his cleaver blade. I'm just going to have to take a gamble on this one. Rukia and Hinataro stared at Ganju, who had just lunged at a Shinigami captain head-on in pure disbelief. No plan? Ganju drew his other hand back, revealing fireworks to use as a way to get closer and disorient. Eat this. However, before he knew, Byakuya was behind him, having already slashed his arm without anyone even having seen it happen. Be gone. Byakuya said stoically as the blood sprayed from the wound on Ganju's arm. My sword was not made to kill pests like you. He said without even turning to face him, as if he had simply walked past and nothing more. Hearing Ganju hit the ground and cry out in pain, he kept walking towards Rukia and Hinataro until Ganju's voice stopped him. Hold on. Byakuya turned around to see Ganju standing with one arm completely useless. Are you deaf? I told you to leave. Blah, blah, blah. You're so noisy with that old man demeanor of yours. Ganju shouted at him defiantly. I don't know how it is with you nobles, but cowards that can be scared away by something like this don't exist in the Shiba clan. Byakuya turned around fully to face him. So you're from the Shiba clan? My apologies for going easy on you. Rukia looked on fearfully as Byakuya drew his Zanpakuto. I'll make sure that you don't walk away from this alive. Ganju looked at his curiously. What are you going to do from so far away? He asked. Don't do it, Nisama. Rukia shouted to Byakuya to try and stop him. Byakuya held the sword directly up in front of his face. Chire, Senbenzakura, scatter, thousand cherry blossom. The blade of his sword disappeared into countless fragments that resembled cherry blossoms blowing away. Run away! Rukia shouted at Ganju. However, it was too late. Before he could move or knew what happened, he found himself cut to shreds by Byakuya's Zanpakuto release all over his body. The wounded man dropped to his knees as blood freely flew from his greatly wounded body. Hinataro looked at his fallen ally in horror. Ganju-san. He said quietly. Byakuya turned abruptly and raised his sword at Hinataro, planning to aim his attack at him and prompting Rukia to throw herself in front of him. Nisama, please stop. Don't kill him. Before Byakuya could complete his motion, he found his sword arm held back by a man in a captain's haori with long white hair and a slightly frail appearance. Ho, that was scary. He said with a disarming smile. I think that's enough, don't you, Kuchiki Taisho? Rukia looked at the new arrival in recognition. You could take Taisho. The man smiled at Rukia and gave her a friendly salute. Oh Rukia. You've lost weight. How are you feeling? What is the meaning of this? Byakuya said accusingly to the fellow captain. That's what I should be saying. Yukitake replied, releasing a Zanpakuto in this area is a first-class offense, even if you are fighting the Ryoka. What were you thinking? You are misinformed, Yukitake Taisho. Byakuya said in a matter-of-factly manner. It's a wartime situation. The ban on releasing a Zanpakuto was lifted to deal with the threat. Wartime situation? Yukitake exclaimed in shock. How can an invasion of a few intruders end up like that? Is this related to the murder of Aizen? He had heard of one of the Ryoka running amok all over the area the previous day, even hearing of how the 1st Division HQ was thoroughly painted multicolors and how thousands of issues of magazines depicting one of the attackers had been printed and distributed around the Seriidii, but it never seemed that serious to him until news of Aizen's death reached him that morning. The jury was still out on what had happened. All of a sudden a high-level Ryatsu settled on everyone conscious on the bridge. Yukitake found himself rather troubled with the sudden presence of such power. What's this strong Ryatsu? It's at the level of a captain, but I don't recognize this person. Who is he? And where did he come from? Rukia, however, felt the familiar traces of the power in the air. This Ryatsu can't be. There's no way. Suddenly a figure flew past her at a high speed and stopped above her before landing next to her on the bridge, getting everyone's full attention. Ichigo. She whispered to herself, almost not believing who was standing there. Ichigo walked past her. Hinata, are you okay? I didn't think you would run into another guy like this when I sent you ahead. Where's Ganju? The smaller Shinigami pointed over to where Ganju's body lay. I see. Ichigo finally turned to Rukia. Rukia, I came to save you. However, her facial expression lay blank, as if she hadn't registered what he had said. Why are you making that face? I said I came here to get you out of this. You idiot. Rukia said as tears started springing to her eyes. I told you not to come after me. I forbade you to come here. And now look at you, covered in wounds, you're all beat up, you dumbass. Ichigo looked back at where the two captains were standing. You can get as mad as you want later. After I defeat him. He said, looking straight at Byakuya. Ichigo. Rukia tried calling out to him to get him to stop. And now you're probably going to tell me to run. He said, cutting her off from saying any more. There's no way I'm doing that, don't make me laugh. It wasn't easy getting all the way here, you know. He looked back at Rukia. No matter what you say, it won't make a difference. I'm dragging you out of here if I have to, so don't bother trying to get me to back down, idiot. What? Her shock was then replaced with outrage at how she had just been spoken to. What the hell does that mean? What kind of weird rescue attempt is this? Shut up. Ichigo snapped back. You're the one being rescued, so quit babbling. You should crouch in the corner, shiver in fear, and scream, help, help. The two glared at each other until a smile came to Rukia's face. You never changed, do you? You're still the same as before, never listening to anything I say. Ichigo turned his back to her to face Byakuya again. Of course. You always nag and worry about me. You should worry more about yourself right now. But don't worry, I won't die yet. He said with a grin. I've gotten way stronger while you were away. Yukitake was looking at Ichigo curiously. Byakuya, who is that? He's a nobody. The aristocratic Shinigami captain said in reply. Compared to the person laying behind you, he is not important. He's just a Ryoka that I am going to destroy. I'm ending this meaningless skirmish here. It all stops here. Ichigo smirked at Byakuya. Look at you standing there all carefree. You didn't even move forward while I was talking to Rukia for so long. Who do you think you're talking to? Byakuya said right back to the orange-haired savior. Why would I need to sneak up on the likes of you? Don't think too highly of yourself, insignificant scum. As a show of force, Byakuya flooded the bridge with his Ryatsu, enough to bring Rukia and Hinata to their knees. Ichigo simply held Zangetsu out, prepared to fight. Byakuya said, mildly impressed by his resolve, not even a budge in front of this Ryatsu. It seems that you have indeed gained strength. I don't know how you got your Shinigami powers back, but you should have just returned to your normal human life, instead of throwing it away after so luckily keeping it. How foolish. I'm not throwing my life away. Ichigo said intently, I'm going to beat you and then I'm going home. I just said don't think so highly of yourself, insignificant scum. Byakuya said before vanishing via Shuinpa. However, Ichigo blocked his strike at his back, keeping Byakuya from wounding or killing him with one move. You said I think too highly of myself. I saw every single step, Kachiki Byakuya. Ichigo said before throwing Byakuya away from himself and facing off one more. Byakuya narrowed his eyes at Ichigo. I see. You've improved more than I thought. Well, in that case. He held his unreleased Zanpakuto up in front of his face much like he had against Ganju. Before you start becoming too full of yourself, I'll have to show you what you can't compensate for in 1,000 years of training. The decisive difference in strength between us. Ichigo, run! Rukia screamed at him, not wanting Ichigo to share Ganju's fate. Chire .. Before Byakuya could complete his release command, a cloth wrapped around his sword that was held by Yoruichi. Well, Shihoin Yoruichi. I haven't seen your face in a while. You disappeared for 100 years. Everyone thought you were dead. Yorichi, thanks for coming to save me, Ichigo said, sword still brandished, but please move. I have to defeat him. Yorichi let off a scoff. Defeat him? By yourself? She turned around and looked at him from one side of her face. Idiot. Before he could say anything, Naruto appeared behind him, wrapping one arm around his neck and his other hand through his bandages into the wound on his body. Naruto had a serious look on his face as Ichigo looked back at him in shock before shrugging. Best ninja ever. Naruto pulled his hand out and used it to catch Ichigo as he slumped forward, unconscious. Got him, Yorichi-chan. It's a drug, isn't it? Yukite questioned as he saw what Naruto had done, either Gatten or Houghton. Releasing a powerful tranquilizer into the body. You're here to save him. He then got a good look at Naruto and matched it with a description. Wait, you're the Ryoka that has been causing a ruckus all around the Siridae, Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto hoisted Ichigo over a shoulder. Yep. Nice to meet you, you seem nice. He looked at Byakuya. He seems like he has a stick in his ass. So you're Kuchiki Byakuya. He stared at the man for a moment. You have a nice house. Byakuya simply stared at Naruto blankly. Yes, that was you that ruined the clothes of my clan, wasn't it? Naruto blinked. Now you can't prove that. You wrote Uzumaki Naruto was here and did this in the ground outside. Byakuya countered, speaking plainly. You are a very unusual person. Naruto didn't immediately respond, simply staring at Byakuya before pointing at him. Are you related to someone named Uchiha or Hyuga? Because you look and act like the illegitimate love child of two people I used to know. Thought I don't want to know how they would have gone about making you. He said with a shiver before snapping his fingers. I've got it. You could be a clone. Byakuya for some reason felt a very strong desire to stab Naruto at the moment, and not just because he was a Ryoka. Naruto, focus. Yorichi said, getting Naruto to stop joking around, as he immediately put his game face back on. Get ready to move. Yukite spoke to Yorichi. You're trying to save him, Yorichi? Did you think that I would allow that, senpai? Byakuya said coolly. No, senpai, you won't be able to leave here freely, you or Uzumaki Naruto. Yorichi smirked at Byakuya confidently. When did you learn to talk so big, Byakuya? Did you ever once beat me in a game of tag? Byakuya's gaze leveled on her. Should we try again then? He said before they both blurred from sight. Naruto's muscles tensed up to prepare to move in case he was attacked, but let Yorichi handle it for now. Byakuya moved past Yorichi and turned rapidly to swing his sword only to realize he had missed as Yorichi had taken Ichigo's body from Naruto and had made to hop over the railing on the bridge. Yorichi smirked, thinking she had him, until he appeared behind her. You can't escape me with that level of Shunpa. He swung again at point-blank range, however this time Yorichi dodged and hopped on his arm tauntingly, still holding Ichigo. You can't catch me with that level of Shunpa. She suddenly blurred out of his range and reappeared atop the tower nearby. 3 days. In 3 days I'll make him stronger than you. She said, patting Ichigo who she was holding. This little fight is postponed until then. You can follow if you want to, but Shunshin, Flash Goddess, Yorichi won't be caught so easily. She said before blurring away. Byakuya turned around to confront Naruto, seeing him still standing there with his arms crossed and a bored look on his face. Finally. I thought you forgot about me. You didn't run. Byakuya said. He had completely forgotten Naruto had been there and Naruto hadn't attacked him either. He had simply waited. What are you here for? He said, planning to move on him and disable him quickly. Yorichi laughed at him. Looks like someone's still thinking about you. She teased in a sing-song voice. It's okay. It won't do anything as long as she doesn't touch it again and she can't find you, so it should be fine. It's impressive though. It's been at least 12 hours and it's still on. When I was here she could only will it to hold for 30 minutes. Naruto poked at his chest. I don't see what's so funny. If she touches this thing again I will die. He shouted at the dark-skinned beauty. Why won't she be able to find me? If I know her, first of all after last night she's going to be pissed, second of all, if she's anything like me she is not going to accept the end of that fight the way that it ended. She's going to be looking for me. Doesn't this thing act like a beacon or something? Yorichi shook her head. No, and she won't be looking for you either because you beat her up pretty bad and she doesn't have your freakish, scary ability to heal. So that means she went to the 4th division for treatment. By now Naruto knew that the 4th division were the medics of the Siridae, the healers. And nothing about what Yorichi just said sounded good to him at all, and this is going to keep her from running right out and hunting my sexy blonde ass down. Why? He said incredulously. If it was me I would jump right out as soon as I could walk without a limp. Yorichi gave him a knowing grin. Let's just say that you're safe and leave it at that, Naruto. Trust me, Soifan isn't going to be out and about for a while, and she sure won't be out looking for you. Naruto looked at her in confusion before smacking his lips and simply asking his question, why? XXX. 4th Division Headquarters, Medical Bay. Soifan was fighting back a burning desire to sneeze repeatedly as she hastily put her uniform back on, feeling she had to follow up on her battle last night with Uzumaki Naruto. He won't get away from me. How far could he have gotten? All I have to do is find him again and finish him off. Where do you think you're going, Taicho? A rather calm, soothing voice stopped Soifan in her tracks as she had gotten to putting on her sandals. She turned almost mechanically towards the door of her room and found the captain of the 4th Division, Unohana Retsu, standing there giving her a beautiful smile. She was a beautiful woman that had long black hair worn in a single braid in the front and blue eyes. In addition to the usual Captain Shinigami outfit, she wore an obi instead of the usual sash that the others wore. Soifan slowly started trying to place her sandal on her foot, never taking a wary eye off of the captain of the medical squad. I need to get back out and find the dangerous Ryoka Uzumaki Naruto. I fought him last night and he has to be out there somewhere, still wounded. He couldn't have gotten far. Unohana shook her head. I haven't released you or cleared you for duty yet, Taicho. We already have one captain deceased and another in worse condition than you. I would like to not lose any more high-ranking officers just to let them go chasing after one Ryoka. That's why I have to go after him. Soifan insisted vehemently. This Ryoka has demonstrated skills in infiltration, sabotage, and assassination that at the very least reach my own level. For all we know, he could have been the one that murdered Aizen Taishu and he's still out there. Any one of the other high-ranking Shinigami could be next unless someone stops him, and none of you would be able to do so. You mean this Uzumaki Naruto? Unohana said, producing a magazine with the cover emblazoned with Naruto's grinning face, blown up to fill the page. Somehow these found their way all over the Seriidii yesterday. For being a completely narcissistic, self-gratifying piece meant to be a joke, it's surprisingly well-written and entertaining. Huh, did you know that he's an author? That must be why. Soifan looked at the magazine in her hand with a twitching eye. The fact that he infiltrated the HQ necessary to even make that proves my point. He's dangerous, Unohana Taishu. He plays the clown, but in battle he's a killer, don't be fooled. Be that as it may, she said, putting the magazine up, you won't be hunting for him until you're cleared, so please put your hospital clothing back on and get back into bed, please. Unohana's smile told one story, but the presence she was generating and the aura permeating the room prompted Soifan to falter and slowly do as she asked, dropping the tense atmosphere significantly. Thank you, Soifan Taishu. Honestly, despite his rowdy demeanor and attitude, Zaraki Taishu is a better patient than the rest of you. Soifan said nothing as she slid back into her bed. That's probably because he isn't even awake yet and you scare us all half to death when we're in the hospital. As much as he's here, he probably knows better by now. Barbarian or not? She blinked in confusion when the magazine was placed on her bed and looked up at Unohana. So that you don't get bored, Unohana said as she exited the room, leaving Soifan alone. Soifan glared at the magazine before the silence of the room and the fact that she couldn't even get up to meditate got to her. Know your enemy, I guess, she said to herself as she flipped it open and began to read. XXX. A while later, Tsukioku Hill Hideout. Where are you going? Yorichi asked Naruto as she saw him walking towards the cliffside entrance to the hideout. Naruto rolled his shoulder joint in an effort to stretch. You don't need me here to teach the kid Bankai, do you? I mean, I don't know anything about how you're going to train him, but I doubt I'll be any use unless you want me to fight him. She looked down at the young Shinigami who had yet to awaken. No, I guess I don't need you to teach him Bankai. But I do need you here. You haven't come face to face with an opponent using Bankai before, and I should tell you now, it increases their strength 5 to 10 times higher than it previously was. Naruto's eyes hardened, 10 times stronger. And again I ask, why didn't Soifan use Bankai to try and kill me? Yorichi shrugged. I'm not even carrying my Zanpakuto with me because I would rather use my hands. It's not that much of a stretch to say that she wouldn't like using it. Soifan isn't a flashy fighter, so her Bankai must go against her style of fighting. Others are usually luckier with their Bankai as it will go with their style of fighting, but none of them should be taken lightly. You should be here to witness it if he achieves it, so that you will not have the experience just thrown at you and you can at least learn the amount of Ryatsu that a full release can generate. More powers, huh? Naruto said to her as he began to walk over to Ichigo. Well, I still have a boatload of moves that you haven't seen yet, Yorichi-chan. Please don't underestimate me and think me weak. I think I'm getting used to whole idea of fighting these Shinigami. Old soldiers like me always have a couple of tricks up our sleeves. He kicked Ichigo and left his body as he began to stir. So now where are you going? Yoruichi asked as he walked further into the hideout, towards the large training area. I can't leave apparently to do some more work, so I'm going to go make sure something I set up earlier works for when I'll need it. He said as he got further and further away. Wonder Boy's awake and he looks rather pissed. Yoruichi looked down at Ichigo who was looking at her angrily before letting out a sigh. Well, I guess it's time to explain Bankai and hope he isn't brick-headed enough to think he can win without it. XXX. Later that night, Naruto happily deposited himself into a hot spring, throwing his hands up behind his head in order to relax. Well, I don't know about you, Wonder Boy, but my training went great. I'm done, so all we're doing is waiting on you and your giant butcher's knife to get to Bankai and we can go save your friend. Ichigo, still having not forgiven Naruto for shoving his hand into his wound earlier that day, leveled a glare on the shinobi. Well, wonderful for you. My Zanpakuto is a slave driver and is trying to kill me. He looked up at the ceiling. This is a good spring though. Though I can't even tell whether it's day or night. You think I can do it? Get my Bankai? It's up to you. Naruto said, sighing in comfort with his eyes closed and his head tilted back. It's about how bad you really want it. Nothing I can say is going to push you if you really don't have it in you to fight. He went silent for a second before speaking again. Is there a butterfly mark still on my chest? Yeah. Ichigo said before looking at it and paying attention to it. I thought it was a tattoo or something. It looks gay actually. Naruto let out a groan. I know. It's a fucking butterfly. Would it make it any better if I said a girl gave it to me? He looked down at it. Well, at least I'm on her mind. He said absently with a smile, she's so hot, she's a captain, and she'd totally kill you in like 5 minutes. Hell, Yoruichi would kill you in like 3 minutes. You better get that Bankai in a hurry now. Ichigo glared at him. Hey, I already beat a captain, you didn't. You fought to a draw. Naruto chuckled. I wasn't trying to kill her, you were trying to kill your opponent. Hell, I heard the guy handicapped himself and you still only fought him to a draw. Because if Yoruichi had to pick you up off the field and bring you here afterwards while you were out of it, you sure didn't beat him. Ichigo growled at Naruto as he took that as a challenge. With the day he had been having thus far, he really wasn't in the mood for any smarmy remarks. You think you can take me? Naruto gave him a confident smile. With my bare hands. You're 500 years too soon to step up to me. I've forgotten more about fighting than you're ever going to learn. Tell me, would you pick a fight with Yoruichi-chan? No. Ichigo responded. The woman was teaching him something that he didn't even know yet and knew more about Shinigami and the Soul Society in general than him. A combination of those things told him he wasn't going to win a fight with her, but you're not her. You're some guy. Naruto shook his head. Really? Because I'd pick a fight with Yoruichi-chan right here right now and feel pretty damn good about it were it not for the fact that my desire to have her fall madly in love with me greatly outweighs my desire to assert my dominance over someone strong, unless that would get me a step closer to achieving the former, in which case I need to find her right now and call her out. He noticed Ichigo roll his eyes. What, you don't think Yoruichi is awesome? You're out of your rabbit-ass mind. She's a Shinigami and I'm a human. It doesn't matter what I think about her. Ichigo said resolutely, besides, she's so much older than us. Older than you. Naruto accentuated to prove his point. I ain't no Shinigami, but I'm older than her. I can safely say that she's nowhere near my age, so I couldn't care less about that. And far as I've seen, the only difference between a soul and a human is the lifespan, which means that to me, there is no difference. He noticed Ichigo looking at him oddly. Oh, I didn't tell you yet. I'm immortal. Don't go spreading that around back in the world of the living. Ichigo just stared at him before throwing his hands in the air abruptly. You know what? I'm not even going to call you out on that, because let me tell you about what I've been doing. I fought a berserker that almost cleaved me in half about 30 times, had a bonding moment with my Zanpakuto, got rescued by our cat guide who I found out is not only female but transformed into a grown woman who appeared in front of me stark naked, flew off on some kind of hang glider. Got within arm's reach of the person I came here to save but then had to leave because the naked woman from before showed up and let some weird blonde guy shove his arm into my stomach and knock me out. I then realized that my sword has a second super powerful form, and to get it I have to fight the spirit of my sword and find the right sword that is actually my Zanpakuto's true form, and my Zanpakuto spirit is mean as hell. So yeah, hearing that you're immortal is huge, but with everything else going on I might as well not care. Man, this is one hell of a summer vacation. Naruto just sat in the water looking at Ichigo. Feel good to let all of that out? Ichigo nodded, taking a calming deep breath. Good, because that took so long. If I weren't immortal I'd be pissed that you took up so much of my time just now. Mind if I join you? Yorichi's voice reached both Ichigo and Naruto's ears as she came into sight beginning to remove her clothes. Yes, go away/no, come on in. Both Ichigo and Naruto said respectively. I'm coming in. Naruto pumped his fist in victory while Ichigo looked away until he heard Naruto groan in disappointment and he allowed himself to look to see that Yorichi was in her cat form swimming around. She smirked when she heard Ichigo exhale in relief. You lecher, you were really disappointed that you didn't see me naked. I call Naruto a pervert but you're just as bad as him, at least he doesn't try to be something he's not. Ichigo glared at her as she kept swimming around. Don't make me drown you. So how was your training? She asked them both, making conversation with them. Naruto pointed a fist at Yorichi and grinned. I'm good to go Yorichi-chan. Just say the word and I'm ready for action. The cat/woman looked at him inquisitively. What is it that you were doing? All I saw you doing was just sitting still over by yourself surrounded by two of your clones doing the same thing like some kind of guru. Naruto wagged his finger. Sage actually. And I can't tell you until I actually have to use it. Yorichi gave him a deadpan look. Fine, I'll just make you use it the next time we fight. Naruto winked at her and she turned her attention to Ichigo. So how about you? What do you think of your training? Ichigo scratched his scalp. It's rough, and I can't tell if I'm any closer or not. Man, Getabushi sure put some work into that doll you made me put Zangetsu's spirit into. And he made this entire place too? He sure did. She said, he built this place as a playground when we were kids and we would train here later when he joined the Godai 13 and I entered the Amatsukudo. She swam around and passed him. Ichigo turned to ask her a question when he abruptly turned back around. Why did you transform back into your human form? He asked, getting flustered at seeing her naked. She's covered by the water, Wonder Boy. Naruto said with a grin at seeing his reaction. You've got some things to experience in life, kid. Stop taking everything so seriously. You aren't in a fight, you're in a comforting bath surrounded by friends, one of whom is a hot woman. Turning to look at Naruto to keep his eyes from drifting to Yorichi who kept finding his reactions at her transformations amusing, Ichigo glared at him. You take things too lightly. We're in the middle of a battle with tons of Shinigami that want to kill us and all I've seen you do is joke and laugh at everything. How strong can you be? Naruto's grin dropped. You're lucky Yorichi-chan wants you in one piece so you can learn your Bankai, otherwise I'd be dragging you out of the spring over to the training field and showing you what's what. If I took everything seriously and looked at the world the way you do I would have driven myself insane a long time ago. Existence is a horrible ugly thing, and just when you think you've seen all of the heinous stuff that people can come up with something else even worse comes along. If I don't keep an upbeat outlook on everything with the way that the world is I couldn't take it, I just don't know what I would do. Ichigo's eyes widened. What are you talking about? Naruto sighed and rubbed his temple. You know the only reason I fought those hollows when we met was because I was actually around while they were attacking? If hadn't been there and I had just heard about what had happened I don't think I would have tried doing anything. He noticed Yorichi and Ichigo both looking at him listening to his every word now. People and hollows, they really aren't that different. Hollows kill people and eat their souls, well at least that serves a purpose. I've saved people, entire groups of people, and then had to turn around and see or hear about those people I saved killing another group of people. Humans and hollows both have the same capacity for committing evil, and I'm certain that Shinigami do too. He noticed that neither Yorichi nor Ichigo had said anything to him and felt that the atmosphere had been killed. I'm getting out. He said, moving to leave the hot spring. Wonder Boy is probably going to want to get out soon so that he can keep getting his ass kicked tomorrow. He still needs Bankai. Naruto wrapped a towel around his waist and walked away. XXX. Later that night, Ichigo went back to training with Zangetsu after the time in the hot spring feeling refreshed and ready for action, continuing to fight his sword spirit while still searching for his Bankai's true form. Naruto was incredibly grateful that this place underneath Tsukioku Hill was so large, because he didn't want to have to be near Ichigo or Yorichi and answer any questions or even talk about what he had just gotten through saying to them at the bath. It was his own problem, it had always been his problem, and it always would be his problem since he was the only one that would ever stay alive long enough to care or even have a chance of doing anything about it. Thousands of years and the time still hasn't come where people truly understand each other. Most of the time it's like no one even seems to try. And now there's all of this stuff about Shinigami too. He thought to himself inside of his bedroll. The ceiling of the training area, just like at Urahara's place or at the Vizard's warehouse always depicted a sunny day, so he never knew what time it was. His internal clock was screwed. Hey! He heard Yorichi say from nearby, are you feeling alright? Naruto sat up and nodded at her, yeah, I just can't sleep. So Ichigo's gotten back to work on his Bankai? Yorichi nodded, why are you here and not there helping him? Yorichi frowned and sat down close to Naruto, because only he can do it for himself. There's not a whole lot I can do except force him to take a break every now and then, and Zangetsu usually does that himself. She put a hand on his shoulder, do you want to talk about anything? Naruto chuckled, Yorichi-chan, you don't have enough free time to listen to all of my problems. It's alright. I've been dealing with my own stuff alone for countless years. Just worry about Wonder Boy and getting him and his friends out alive. And what about you? She shot back at him, if we're worrying about ourselves and you're worrying about us too, then who's going to worry about you? You say this like you don't expect me to try and help you with your problems. I'm the entire reason you're here. Immortal or not, you're still a human and you're still my responsibility. If your mind isn't right, it might get you killed when the time comes to fight. Naruto shook his head before Yorichi gave him a stern look that told him he wasn't being given an option. You want to know something I've come to learn? I have a dream that seems totally impossible, to bring peace to the world, and I've only come up with a way to make it work some of the time. It's not about changing the world, Yorichi-chan, the status quo brings about the most peaceful eras I've ever seen. Changing the world causes panic and strife, and anger, and fear, which leads to conflict. So it's not about changing the world, it's about doing your best to keep the world just the way it is. Less life is lost that way. He turned his head and looked at her, you know? Yorichi shook her head and put a small smile on her face, you know. When you say stuff like that, it makes me really believe that you've been around for as long as you keep implying you have, because only an old man could say something that sounds so profound, confusing, and totally out of place. Naruto started laughing at her response, wiping a tear of humor from his eye. Ah, I needed that. He lay back down in his bedroll and looked up at the ceiling. Every now and then I need to let off a little steam. I'm fine now, what do I have to worry about? As long as I stay alive, I'll have all the time in the world to work out an answer. And I won't stop until I do. It was a promise. And I always keep my promises. He felt Yorichi crawl into the bedroll with him and drape herself atop him, placing her head on his chest. Yorichi-chan. Shut up, Naruto. She said, pulling herself close. I've got nothing to do, Ichigo is training, and you look like you could use a friend. My friends die. Naruto remarked, even when I keep them alive they still die and time doesn't pass for me at all. Yorichi rolled her eyes, well, this one isn't going anywhere for a long time. The advantages of being a Shinigami, you know. She looked up at him with her golden eyes, you grope me or do anything that I don't say is okay and I'll tear you apart. Got it. Naruto said quickly to quell any misgivings she may have had with doing this. He may have been a pervert, but that was something he developed out of boredom and loneliness over a long period of time. Would holding you get me killed? He asked. No, it wouldn't. She said, prompting Naruto to wrap his arms around her, pulling them closer. Would trying to fall asleep right now get me killed? He asked her next. What else are you going to do? You're not leaving until Ichigo gets Bankai and you told me that you were ready for the battle. Sleep. You're going to need all the rest you can get. She said, shutting her eyes to catch some sleep as well. She hadn't gotten any since before getting Naruto away from the aftermath of his fight with Soifan. Naruto nodded and decided at that moment to plant a kiss on her forehead, getting Yorichi to look at him in surprise. What the hell? Naruto shut his eyes. Sometimes it's easier to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission when it's something that you really want. Yorichi looked at the blonde in confusion. Something you really want? Naruto cracked an eye. Yorichi-chan, you're the first friend I've decided to try and make in 1,000 years. She looked at him in shock. I've had acquaintances, but everyone I meet dies, so I stopped getting too close to people. I just kept moving and traveling, never returning until too much time had passed and they forgot about me or died. Stupid. She mumbled lowly to him, maybe that's why you seem to be so insane to me and others? Because you've only had yourself to deal with for so long. I know being around you for too long would make me go crazy. She said before putting a soft kiss on his lips, don't be that kind of person that tries to do everything on their own. There will always be someone willing to help you. And I don't want to hear any of your nonsense about me dying before you or something like that. Naruto Ojizen. She lay her head back down on his chest. Whatever you say. Naruto said, closing his eyes once more to sleep. Yorichio Bacon. He yawned out, grinning when he felt her hit him in the ribs. The two settled into a comfortable silence as the only sounds were the sounds of Ichigo locked in combat with Zangetsu. This doesn't leave the cave. Why? You embarrassed? Or is there someone else? Gasp, it's Urahara, isn't it? That's it, right? Naruto, shut up and go to sleep. I can't sleep. Not with this question burning in my mind. Now who is it? Oh wait, I know, it's why you didn't want me to kill her. It's Soifan, isn't it? That's so hot. Maybe that should go into the book? Thwack. Good night, Naruto. The mental image was worth it. Yes, I'm sure that it was. XXX. The next day, Naruto sat on a tall rock in a seated meditative position as Yoruichi stood next to him watching Ichigo fight in an open area full of blades of all different shapes, sizes, and makes. Naruto let out a whistle. Ichigo was right, his Zanpakuto spirit is mean. Look at all of these swords, unless he can sense which one it is, it's a total pick'em trying to find his blade. He saw Ichigo getting the better of Zangetsu until his blade shattered, forcing him to search for another. He's getting better though. This kid's got a good fight IQ. Yoruichi nodded. It's a shortcut, Naruto, it's going to be harder than doing it the long way. That would take 10 years. We were lucky that we got that extension when we first came to the Soul Society. It knocked us a few days back, giving us this extra time to train him. Still, this isn't about improving his fighting prowess. His spiritual growth isn't improving as quickly as his combat skill. That's bad, right? Naruto asked, flinching slightly when he saw Ichigo get thrown into the face of a rock outcropping. Yes. Yoruichi replied, slightly worried. If Ichigo can't pull off his Bankai in 3 days, it might be too dangerous for his soul to survive. I need to give it another day. She let out a sigh as Ichigo picked up a new sword and charged right back into battle with Zangetsu. I need to do something to occupy my time. Want to fight again? Naruto offered helpfully. I'm 100% again, and there's no such thing as too much preparation. We can even go light so we don't beat each other senseless, just go through the motions. She looked over at him before looking back at Ichigo. I really can't. I have to keep overseeing his training. How will he even know when he finds the right sword? Naruto asked, seeing as how Ichigo had gone through a dozen swords in the last 3 minutes. Oh, he'll know, we'll all know. Yoruichi insisted before narrowing her eyes and looking around. Do you feel that? She asked, alerting Naruto to the change in her attitude. I think someone's dash dot. The hidden entrance to the training ground exploded open. Huh. You actually have to hide to do your Bankai training. From the dust of the destroyed entrance, walked Aburai Renji, holding his Zanpakuto in Shurikai form. Naruto appeared in front of Renji in a burst of wind and leaves and stood with his arms crossed. I have no idea how you actually found us, but you can't leave now. You understand, right? Yoruichi appeared beside Naruto and walked in front of him, keeping him from attempting anything. Down, boy. Naruto growled at being compared to a dog. Any particular reason you're here, or should I let Naruto loose? He's been rather bored lately. Renji walked further into the training ground. Relax, I'm not here to fight. My problem isn't with Kurosaki anymore. I'm here to finish my own Bankai training too. I'm actually close. He turned his head towards Naruto and Yoruichi, and you might want to inform Kurosaki of something. Rukia's execution date has been moved up. It's now tomorrow at noon. Naruto and Yoruichi looked at each other before holding out their hands and playing a quick game of rock paper scissors, which Naruto lost. Damn it. Fine, I'll go tell Boy Wonder the bad news. Omake, Naruto alone in the Rukongai, day 13 of 46. Naruto had finally made it to the first district on the east side of the Soul Society. He smiled as he saw the area that looked radically different from the districts he had been used to seeing. Naruto rubbed his hands together in anticipation. Okay, time to infiltrate. Naruto sprinted over to the area designated as the Siriidii, however a massive gate dropped from the sky and almost crushed him. What the hell? That almost hit me. So there's one fool that desires to infiltrate the Siriidii. Fool. The dust kicked up from the falling gate cleared to reveal an obscenely large man with very prominent teeth, a 4-points mustache/goatee combination and long black hair, spiky going down his back. It's just one little man. Very well then, it's been a long time since anyone has tried breaking into this place. I am the guardian of the eastern gate of the Siriidii, Kaiwan. And I will be your executioner. No. Naruto said, setting himself into a fighting stance. Today, you're going to be my doorman, because I'm going to kick your ass and make you open this gate for me. Insolence. Kaiwan roared at Naruto in anger. I would die before I open this gate for you. He ran forward at Naruto with his fist drawn back. I'll crush you in one punch, you puny bastard. Naruto bounced lightly on his toes and waited for Kaiwan to throw his punch. Naruto jumped over it as it smashed into the ground, breaking up the surface. He landed on the fist and swiftly ran up Kaiwan's arm before he could draw it back and kicked him right in the side of the head, sending him spilling against the gate, rattled from the surprisingly strong invader. Open the gate and I'll stop beating the shit out of you, big man. Naruto said, tapping his foot impatiently, I've beaten guys bigger than you and with more power. You're too slow. He heard Kaiwan growl and took that as his decision. Okay, whatever you want. Kaiwan came at Naruto, lifting his hands overhead for a double-handed smash while Naruto made hand seals, Raitun, John, lightning release, false darkness. A bolt of lightning in the shape of a jagged spear shot from Naruto's mouth and hit Kaiwan in the upper right part of his chest, ripping right through his body, getting a breathless gasp from the giant before he stumbled back against the gate and slumped to the ground, as such power. Naruto looked at Kaiwan apologetically, sorry. I forgot how strong that one was. Are you going to be alright? Can you open the gate? Kaiwan gasped for breath and glared at Naruto. I would never open the gate and allow an intruder into the Seriidii. You'll have to kill me, invader. Naruto frowned, but then if I kill you, who's going to open the gate? Look at that thing, I can't lift that thing up. He shrugged, fine, I don't need you to open it. I'll just go over it. Naruto ran at the wall and tried sticking his feet to it to begin running up the side, but ended up slipping off and falling on his head. What the hell? Kaiwan laughed, there's a barrier surrounding the Seriidii keeping others from getting in easily by jumping over the gate or going under. The only way in is through the doors themselves. He continued to laugh until he passed out from his wounds. Oi! Naruto shouted, jumping on the giant's shoulder and slapping him across the face, get up and open this gate. Hey! He jumped off and sighed before walking back to town. Well, isn't that just great? And where the hell is everyone else?